Hi everyone, Corey here with Team Cramer Fishing, and this video is going to be a review of the Dr. Fish Hercules 3000 Baitrunner reel. Okay, before we get right into the review, let me explain a little bit about our channel and what kind of fishing we do and why we might want to use one of these reels. We're basically a multi-species family fishing channel. I fish by myself quite a bit, but more than half of the time either one of my kids are with me or I'm fishing with my wife or we're all together. So that means we need a lot of rods and reels, and that means we don't want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on like 8 setups that we might have. It also means a lot of times I'm watching my kids and telling them, what not to do, generally speaking. And so I can't always keep a real sharp eye on every single rod and reel that's in the water. And I also like to fish multiple rods. So I fish up to 3 rods sometimes. Usually it's just 2. Sometimes it's 3, and I'll have 1 or 2 soaking in the water with either a worm or some live bait or some cut bait or something. And then I'll have 1 that I'm casting and retrieving. So that's typically how I like to do it. Sometimes I just cast and retrieve. I don't have anything in the water. But these Baitrunner reels come in really, really, really handy for that type of fishing, and also any type of carp or catfishing, because what they allow you to do is essentially they have a dual drag system. So you flip this little switch and you have one drag that's very light. I'll show you here. I'm barely pulling, and so the fish can take the bait and run without any kind of resistance. It also has a clicker, so I can hear it'll start ripping out when a fish grabs it. So when I hear that, you run over, you grab your reel, and all you have to do is start reeling, and that little clutch clicks. Usually you do oh, I got my line wrapped up because it's not on a rod here. So you start reeling and that clutch flips, and then what that does is it engages your secondary drag, which is usually much stronger. It takes a lot more effort for that fish to fight, and then you can fight the fish with that drag. Okay, so basically it allows you to have a lot of rods in the water, and you don't have to really babysit them. You don't have to like constantly adjust your drag. Ever since I've gotten one of these reels and I see people, letting the rod soak and they have to really lighten their drag, I'm like, save yourself a lot of time and trouble and get you one of these Baitrunner. They call them bait runners, bait feeders, live liners, whatever the company decides to kind of brand theirs as. But basically they have that dual drag system. Okay, so I can't recommend anything more than if you're a fishing dad or a fishing mom than getting one of these. Now the problem is they're typically more expensive than your regular reel, so you want to get one that's relatively cheap, and that's where these Dr. Fish Hercules reels come into play. Okay, so currently on Amazon these reels cost 30 bucks each, which is pretty cheap. They're not like the $10 ones you get with like combos at the big box stores or whatever, which aren't Baitrunner reels anyway. But that's pretty inexpensive if you consider that we might have to buy, if we're all going carp fishing or we're all going catfishing, we could have up to 8 rods and reels that we have to bring with us. So 30 bucks each is pretty reasonable. So that brings us into, are these things pieces of junk? Basically they're Chinese reels, as far as I can tell. Dr. Fish is kind of a generic fishing brand, and so they're knockoff reels of kind of the more popular ones that you might find from one of the bigger named, well-known fishing companies. So let's just get into the positives real quick, okay? I've had these reels for like 4 months. They've gotten heavy use. They have, for the most part, functioned properly the way you would expect them to function. We've caught some pretty good fish in between 5 and 10 pounds, several of them on here, and the reels have performed just fine. One of these reels, my daughter got completely full of sand, so much so that it seized up. And I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to, see if this thing is just going to fall apart, once I take it apart and all the little plastic pieces bounce everywhere. But I broke it completely down, took it all the way apart, cleaned out the sand, put it back together, and the one that got the sand in it, which is this one right here, actually works a little better than the other one that I have does. So it's, it's not a complete piece of crap. Now, and I would feel comfortable saying, this could handle fish up to 20 pounds, in most situations, okay? So another positive is they're inexpensive, which means they're inexpensive to buy, but it also means they're inexpensive to replace. So, like I said, my daughter Vivian got one completely full of sand. That's a typical experience for us. So if you're a kayak fisherman, or a canoe, or you're using it for your kids, or maybe you take people fishing that don't have a lot of fishing experience, they don't even really know how they should handle, a lot of this stuff, or you're just generally going to be not super careful with them, then that could be another positive, is that they're really inexpensive to replace. I mean, you're not going to be mad at your kid or whatever for very long if they do something and screw it up and break it. Whereas if you have a really expensive, like saltwater, well-known brand fishing reel, and your kid drops in the sand, you are not going to be happy with them. So that can, and even worrying about it can kind of reduce your the fun of your fishing experience, we'll say. So those are the positives. I mean, they generally work. Okay, now let's get into some of the negatives. Okay, so there's 2 or 3 negatives that I've experienced so far about these reels. The first one is, on one of the reels in particular, I don't remember which one it is, I've had this clutch stick. I've had both the clutch stick and I've had the bail stick when you go to open it. And I actually think it wasn't the one that got all sandy that is the one that does it. I think it's the other one. So it wasn't really anything to do with us damaging it or anything, but every now and then, and it's kind of unpredictable, you'll go to flip that and it's like, it won't go anywhere. And the bail it's always worked so far, but it does catch sometimes. Okay, so that's kind of a minor annoyance. I would say the bigger concern is on this one, you can see that the bail is already come apart from I don't know how well the GoPro is going to focus on this, but the bail has already come apart from here. And as soon as I bought these reels, I mean, the first thing I noticed was how cheap the bails were. I mean, this is basically just plastic for the most part holding this bail together. So if you have a situation where you go to open it in a hurry and it does one of those little catchy things that it does sometimes, I could easily see you just breaking this bail off without even having a fish on. And then the other situation, of course, is you have a fish on, and I mean, this arm is pretty flimsy. The whole thing is, I mean, it has a lot of flex to it, really. So it's going to break. This one hasn't fully broken yet, but these are not going to last you very long with regular use. They're inexpensive for a reason. Now, that being said, if you need to get if you want to get like a 5-rod and reel catfish setup, and you need to buy a bunch of reels, hey, it's better to have the number of rods and line in the water that you need, rather than to, only have one that you can afford. So don't expect them to last too long. That's definitely a negative. Okay, so I have another Baitrunner / live liner reel. It's a Penn Fierce 2 2500 live liner. It's basically the same size and weight as the knockoff Dr. Fish reel here, almost exactly, really. The quality difference between these two reels is pretty astounding. I mean, there's even just touching them and picking them up and handling for a short while, you can tell that the Penn is made way better than the Hercules. So the question is price. So we know there's quality reels out there. It's just how much money we can afford to pay for them. These reels basically together, they're $30 each right now on Amazon, and I'll have a link in the description to both these reels. So these are $30 each, so you get 2 of them for like $60. This one by itself is $70 right now. So the question is, would you rather have 2 of these or would you rather have 1 of these? Now my initial answer is, if you ask me personally, I am taking the pen over the others. And this isn't a review of the pen yet. Whenever I find a reel that I really like, I test it longer. I use it longer to make sure that there isn't some flaw that I'm just missing on my initial few months. So I'm still using this, I'm still putting it through the paces. But even given the use that I've had with it so far, personally, I'm taking the 1 reel before I take the 2 reels. That being said, there is a place for these. And, you know, like I said, you know, I'll use these on Miles, my son and my daughter, and they can come out and soak lines. Or if friends want to come and fish with me, you know, I don't have to, you know, who don't fish very much, I can hook them up with one of these and they're going to work just fine, generally speaking. They're going to match the level, you know, of fishing ability of the people that are using them. And I don't have to worry if they break them, you know, because they cost 30 bucks. So, and honestly, I've probably gotten, I wouldn't say I've gotten 30 bucks worth of use out of them, but I've maybe gotten like 15 bucks worth of use out of them, and they're still technically both working. So, so there is a place for these, but if you're a serious fisherman, I would save your money if you can wait. Otherwise, pick one up, use it, and try to save your money. But eventually, you want to step it up, and I'll do a review of this maybe once we get done with the open water fishing season, maybe a little before that, and we get into ice fishing. I'll let everybody know what my kind of final verdict is on the Penn Fierce 2 2500. One other thing that I didn't mention is that we always like to use lighter gear here on Team Cramer Fishing, and so you'll notice these are, I would say 3500 series is about the highest I'm going to go with these, because I pack around a lot of reels and stuff, and we don't need a you know, a 5000 series or a 50, sometimes they call them 50s, or 40s, you know. Really, I'm going to say 3500 as I start going through and testing more of these to 2500 is the range we're looking at. I also use these for frog fishing, for spinning. If you watch any of my frog fishing videos, you'll see that I actually use spinning gear, so I don't have to buy a whole new setup just for frogs. And this pen has been really getting the job done for me on that front, and I haven't encountered a situation yet where it hasn't been able to do its job. So there you have it. That's my review of the Dr. Fish Hercules II 3000 Baitrunner reel. There are some situations where you might want to buy one, and I'll have the links up there, but generally speaking, for most, especially single fishermen who are fishing by themselves, save your money up for, if not the pen, maybe one of the other ones, and I'm going to be testing a lot more. But I would say, knowing that you have the Penn Fierce 2 2500 out there, I feel really confident so far saying that it's better than 2 of the Dr. Fish Hercules. So if you want to see more of my reviews and stuff, I usually do at least a couple of reviews a month after we've tested it. We don't do unboxings. We don't do, another thing, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I bought all this stuff myself. So nobody's sending me stuff for free. I don't get a discount. I mean, I don't know what other kind of deals like these companies have for people, which is fine. I mean, I don't care that people are getting sponsored and stuff. That's great, but it doesn't make for like an honest review of things. And you know, opening something out of the box and using it for a day, sometimes you can tell like if you don't like something right away. But for me, to tell if something's really good, you have to use it for at least for a little while. You know, preferably, you know, up to a year or a whole season or something like that. So all this stuff I've bought, I've used. You can watch our fishing videos. You can see us catching fish with them. And you can see what kinds of fish we've been catching with them and kind of what they've gone through. And that's about all, you know. So subscribe, like the video if you like it, and check out some of our actual fishing videos if you like to watch people catch fish, especially if you like to watch families catch fish. My daughter's 8, my son's 6, and my wife doesn't fish a lot, but we all go fishing as a family quite a bit. So you get to see us all doing trying to catch fish together, which is fun sometimes. All right, thanks for stopping by. See you later.